Good morning, Dave. Dave is having a last-minute wipe of the lens. My name is Brent Smith, and you're in a wet and windy Sabi Sands this morning. And we are surrounded by a herd of impala. Well, a little bachelor herd of impala. They're looking quite happy. There's a tiny little bit of drizzle around this morning, nothing too serious. And we are on our way to look for any sign of Tundi in the northeastern parts of Djuma. And remember, this is 100% live, so these impala are walking around right now at the same time that we are looking at them. And they're quite happy that Tundi's not here. So a little bachelor group, the rut's about to start, so the competition between male impalas is about to get quite serious. And as I said, it's a bit windy, a little bit wet, there's a tiny bit of drizzle around, or intermittent drizzle, should I say. And we're hoping that it's going to be a wonderful morning, because this is really good weather for the cats to be up and about. So hopefully we're going to find ourselves some kitty cats. There's an oxpecker on the ground. Well, was on the ground, now on the impala, who's not impressed and flicked it off. Now, of course, I'm not the only one out and about in this weather this morning. Let's go across to Tristan so he can bid you a good morrow.
Well, we do want to say hello and good morning. I'm sure a very chirpy Brent has already welcomed all of you to a rather grey, cold, overcast, windy day. But, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera today we have Sebastian. And there we go, a very good morning from Sebastian as well. Now, the thing is this morning is we're going to try and check up on the northwestern side, or the western side of Djuma, for two reasons. One is we're going to try and see if we can find any sign of the Nkahuma pride maybe coming back after their little altercation with the Avoca Males the night before, and if there's any sign of maybe Anderson or Hukamuri coming our side, given that both of them were on Arathusa, not too far actually from our southwestern corner, and so maybe we're just going to have them coming back onto our side, which will be quite nice. So that's the kind of plan. We did have some wildebeest that were here. They've all just run off in a distance, unfortunately, which is not very good, but we'll try catch up with them and see if we can get them on camera for you guys. Alright, Michael, so you're thinking along the same lines that I am, is that you're hoping for an update on the Nkahumas and if Hukamuri will be around this morning. So pretty much how I was thinking and hoping as well. It would be nice to catch up with them. I know I did speak to some of the guys from the west. They said that all the Nkahumas were accounted for except the littlest cub was not there, but everybody looked okay. There was no cuts or scrapes or scars. Everyone apparently looked all right. So at least that's fairly kind of good news, is that they, other than the little cub not being there, which of course could be just in hiding somewhere, somehow don't think so, but you never know. And at least none of the adults or anything like that are badly injured. It sounded like a very serious fight, so we'll just have to see. Also, the Solala lioness, for any of you that are wondering where she is, she was found just as we finished drive yesterday on Little Gowrie, lying at one of the water holes, still looking a little bit sorry for herself, but she is still around and kind of in that area, so maybe she comes outside too. Now, I know Taylor has been trying to call me, so I wonder what she wants. So I'll just try and quickly give her a shout, because she's been calling me twice now. Taylor. I think she's got an update. She said she's going to go down the center part of Djuma. I can't really hear her. There's lots of wind. Next, maybe if you can ask her off radio and then let me know what's going on, because there's so much wind on Taylor's mic, I actually can't hear what she's saying, so it's going to make life a little difficult. But very strange weather. We've gone from nice warm conditions to overcast, very windy, a bit of drizzle in the air. We've got our rain roofs on. It's because Taylor did a very effective rain dance yesterday, and so now we are all roofed up, and it's kind of a massive change. And I believe that further south of us has had a lot more rain. So around Lion Sands and Sabi, they've had close to 30 millimeters of rain. We've had about 0.01 mils of rain so far, but maybe that's going to push up this way. Johannesburg has been very cold and wet, and this front is pushing from that area. So it's going to be interesting just to see how much rain we do get, and whether these conditions last for a few days or if they're going to kind of change. Anyway, we'll carry up. I'm going to go towards Sydney's Dam first, just to see if there's any sign of the Nkahumas up there, and then we'll go down Triple M from there. While we do that, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy so she can say good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's a very gloomy morning. My name is Taylor, just like Tristan said. Then on camera with me today, hanging upside down from the roof, is Craig, and he's keeping nice and warm. Of course, we're going to head down towards Chitwa and see what we can find down the end of the world. And what I did find for Tristan was some male leopard tracks coming right in from Weavers, back up towards sort of Pangolin trackside. I sent him a voice message because I couldn't get hold of him on the radio. And as we were driving down towards Philemon's Dip this morning, I thought I may have heard of Franklin making that. No, that's not the sound they make when they're frightened. I don't know what noise that was. Anyways, they make the strange sound, and it sounded like it was perhaps perched up in a tree. I also don't know how many raptors will be out into today. It's miserable, it's windy, it's very cloudy, bit of rain. It's not ideal hunting weather at the moment. If you're a bird and you want to soar levelly, you're going to be blowing all the way around. So I don't think it would have been a bird that early, but I told them to go and check that area anyways. We're gonna pretty much head straight towards Chitwa, I think. We'll have a look to see if there are any tracks sort of crossing from this side, especially down towards Twin Dams, which we're heading to now. That seems to be a hot spot. It's like a corridor. Lots of animals like to pass through there. Obviously, you're going from water to water. You've got Baboon Pan, which are seasonal pans that fill up, and then we've got Twin Dam, and then also this other little marshy section too that does collect a bit of water. So the animals do like to drink around here, and yeah, so that's kind of the plan. We don't really know who we are going to find on Chitwa, but it'll be exciting enough either way. But I'm going to send you back across to Brent. Well, for day number 3, will he be able to find Thandi today?
Well, we hope we are. We've got some interesting tracks here at the moment. I'm going to see if I can show them to you. Light's quite difficult at the moment. So, oh, dearie me. Now, of course, they're gone. So with all the lion pandemonium, there's no other way to describe it that's been going on, we found tracks of a single lioness. Now, I'm trying to find, of course, now they leave the road, heading straight towards where the Avoca Males are. You've got to wonder whether it's that lost lonely Salala lioness, because all the other tracks of the lions yesterday were heading in the opposite direction. So interesting, and it's not often you find tracks of a single lioness. Let me see if I can find a track to show you. Puma's wondering if there's a possibility of finding cats on kills. There's always a possibility of finding cats on kills. More so after an early morning like this, where it's been windy and overcast, so very dark. And so there's always a good chance of finding a cat on a kill. Well, let's hope it's Thandi. Gizmo is wondering, why do animals defecate on the road? It's because they are walking down it or across it. There's no particular reason. They will defecate anyway. And you must remember that a lot of the roads here are built on old animal paths. So while they're walking, they don't take much notice whether it's road or bush. So they just do their business. Okay, so we're heading up towards Nyala Road North first. We're on Nyala Road South at the moment, trying to figure if Thandi came out of that block between Hyena Road and Nyala Road North. It's a very thick area. That's where her last tracks disappeared into yesterday. So we're going to go see if we can find any tracks coming out of that area. And who knows, maybe the Avoca boys got thirsty and they came down towards Buffalo's Hook Dam for a drink. Oh, I do love a good cup of tea. Mrs. Grumpy says you could hear sawing on the down cam early on last night. Well, then that's probably Hukamuri. And so Tristan is trying to find him this morning, so hopefully he finds those tracks without too much fanfare. Okay. Now we're in the hot zone. This is Dave's just giving the lens a quick wipe. As I say, it's spitting intermittently. But now you can see I'm not even wearing a rain jacket. It's very, very, very little in terms of spitting. And let's have a look. Any tracks here? No. So onwards and northwards towards Buffelshoek Dam. While we do that, let's go across to the original Nervous Nelly, Taylor McCurdy.
The original Nervous Nelly? What? What nonsense is Brent talking today? Who put what in his coffee? Hey? Goodness gracious. I have to teach him a lesson today. How are we going to annoy Brent? That's like my goal in life every day, to go out and annoy him to death. Tristan and I both said today we were going to gang up on him because he's very chirpy. He's already had breakfast. He's made himself a lamb sandwich. Which was quite funny, quite entertaining watching Brent make sandwich this morning in the kitchen. Right, we're on Chitwa, and oh, hang on, I hear voices. This is very exciting. We actually hear voices on the Game Drive radio this side. It could have just been again that voice in my head. Who knows? Okay, well, we'll turn it down for a little bit. We've just jumped onto Chitwa. No leopard tracks coming in, just those ones from yesterday that go up and down. I'm pretty sure it was Hosanna following Tingana's tracks around. He does seem to like company, that leopard. So we're just going to go down this road over here, which goes into the Mulwanini. We're going to check very carefully. I put my spotlight down. I don't know why I did that, because it's a bit dark still, so it can help me illuminate tracks on the ground if there are any tracks on the ground. Not yet though. You can see them, but sometimes you need a little bit of extra lighting to be able to tell what they are. So hopefully we'll find something wonderful today. Now, Anna Marie, a question that I don't think any of us actually know the answer to, unfortunately, and it's with regards to where Shadow and not Barbara is. I haven't got a clue. I would assume she's just moved out of the area because Hukamuri's around. I mean, she's got a young cub. Thandi seems to be standing her ground, and perhaps that's also why Thandi's moved slightly further to the east and going into Buffelshoek and Torchwood a little bit more, is because she's just trying to keep out of his way, keep her little one hidden too, which is a very clever move. So I don't know where Shadow is. I mean, it took me Shadow is one of the first leopards I saw, but then, I mean, I've only seen her a handful of times. I think I could count in the almost 2 years that I've been here. I don't even think I've seen Shadow 10 times. So she can be quite sneaky and hide away. And the properties are very, very dense at the moment. So maybe I don't actually know where she's gone. But we'll keep an ear out and see if we can hear, or we can find out where exactly she's gone. Just came to check here because it's actually opened up slightly, which is nice. I can see now. Quite thick earlier. I just want to check some of these big trees. Nice jackalberries and sausage trees and marula trees. Perfect spots for a leopard to sort of sit up in. Or even some owls. I think we're going to see, if we look carefully, we might be able to see some cool birds today hiding away from the miserable weather. Okay. What's that? Little bird flying far away now. We'll keep scratching around here. I think I'm going to send you back across to Brent. I'm not really sure, but well, off you go.
Now, I'm sorry about Seb's little cloth. It's drizzling a little bit, and so he's cleaning his eyes, making sure that you guys don't have to see all the little spots that are everywhere. So if you see a little hand in a cloth every now and then, I do apologize about it, but it is a little bit of rain that's falling that's causing a few spots to come onto the lens itself. Now, we have checked for the Inkahuma Pride, no sign. I also was listening to the radio in the west, just to have a little listen to what they've been talking about, and they don't actually have any sort of updates for me just yet, except that they are following tracks for the Nkuhuma Pride around Arathusa. So I think they're still that side. I don't think they've crossed back our side just yet. They probably got an awfully big fright from the Avocas yesterday, and I don't think they're going to come back in the next kind of day or two. I think they're going to wait for the dust to settle, and hopefully the Birminghams to come back. If the Birminghams come back, then they'll come back quite quickly, because they know that the Birminghams are the dominant boys around and that they don't have to stress nearly as much. So now what we're trying to do is just see if there's any sign of Hukamuri, or even maybe Anderson with Hukamuri. Wouldn't that be nice to have the two of them here together? That would be very, very, very cool. So Morning Glory, difficult to say. I mean, it would be a complete stab in the dark as to whether or not that youngest Nkuhuma cub is alive. I honestly don't know is the answer to it. Yesterday when we were tracking them, I thought I saw the tracks inside with the Pride, but I might have been mistaken. Maybe it was just because we were tracking quite fast and I didn't really pay too much attention and look probably as closely as I should. But it didn't look like the smallest cub was there. If it isn't with them, the chances of it being alive is probably quite slim, just given that it's old enough now to travel with the Pride. So it'll be interesting just to see. I don't know, maybe it just got separated and Mom will find it. You know how these things happen. Sometimes cubs can separate for a day or two, and then they kind of be back together again. Maybe Mom hid it somewhere just in case those males kept trailing them. I don't know. So difficult to say. I don't really want to kind of throw an opinion out just yet without actually having seen the Pride, see if there's any sort of damage to them, and also just to actually check them over course of a few days, because that little one might pop out at any stage, or you never know. So rather just kind of give it a bit of time before we give any sort of major opinion like that. So Phil, or Bill, was it Bill or Phil? Sorry, next there's lots of wind. Bill, okay, cool. So Bill, the Birminghams haven't left Djuma. They are just preoccupied with some other stuff at the moment. And so what's happening is that as a male lion coalition gets very, very dominant in an area, so they start to expand out and they start to push. And if there's no resistance, they just keep growing and growing and growing until they get an area where they get some sort of resistance. And so what's happened with the Birminghams is, as the Majingalans are starting to get old and starting to, their movement's starting to get smaller, so the Birminghams can start pushing further away, and we have a situation where they can get much further south of where we are, and there's prides of lions there that they can then mate with and try and kind of establish themselves there. So it's just a natural thing that they're doing, but they haven't left Djuma. This still forms part of their territory. Now, talking about lions, it seems as though Brentley Smith has pulled up his socks, and his lamb sandwich has helped him find not only a tawny coloured cat, but some big grey pachyderms with it.
Well, it's all happening here at Buffelshoek. We've got lion, we've got elephant, and waterbuck. Oh, look, the elephant's chasing the lion. We've got one elephant cow. We've got the 3 Avoca males who have finally come to... Oh, the waterbuck have seen the lion now. He was stalking them. And they are making themselves very scarce. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Elephants, you just gave up the game. Okay, so we've got one of the boys lying opposite us here. Hello, little boys. Well, not that little. Oh, let's go to that one there. Sorry, Dave. So now actually seeing them properly, they do look a little bit older than we first thought. So there obviously wasn't that much left on that buffalo carcass, looking at their tummies. Oh, back here, the elephant spotted the other lion. He's coming towards us. Oh, the elephant's coming. The lion hasn't, there you go, he's noticed now. Now you can see Ellies really don't like predators. Ellie, there's another lion about to appear behind you in shortly. And there we go. So this is our first good look at the Avoca Males. So they're definitely a bit older than what I thought when we were looking at them. They're just under 5 from... Oh, and a hippo. It's all happening. Oh, the elephant's chasing the lion again. Sorry, Dave. It's all happening here. Now, this lion's going for the hippo. Oh, my goodness. What a morning at Buffalo. I've been here a few times, and there's been absolutely squat happening. Now, all of a sudden, it's all happening. Now, by himself, he might not have too much luck with the hippo. And it's going to be interesting to see with the other males who have now spotted the hippo. No, he's going to get out of the way. I would as well. That's a big hippo bull. There we go. He's going to chase the lion. He's probably going to do a crash into the water now. Oof, that is a big hippo. Coming back from his nightly excursions out grazing. There we go. Oh, I was waiting for that. And now right in front of us, another one of the boys. And you can see, as I say, they're definitely a bit older than we thought. Oh, elephant's coming back now as well, after chasing the third male. Isn't this exciting? There are definite contenders. Definite contenders to take over from the Birminghams, and if the Birminghams continue to stay down to the south. But at the moment, they're about the same age as the Birminghams were when they started putting pressure on what were they called again? Oh my goodness, I can't remember now. Matimbas, on the Matimba males. So they're about the same age as the Birminghams were. So I don't think anything's going to happen right now. Welcome everyone. My name is Brent Smith, and you are live from the Sabi South Africa. We've got two of the most iconic animals in Africa in one frame. We've got a male lion and an elephant. There's another male lion walking across to the side, and it looks like that elephant might be stalking it. Elephants really don't like predators, so there's a chance the elephant might chase the lion a little bit. He's already chased the other two, so there's 3 adult male lions here. Here we go, walking around the edge, and there's a hippo as well in the water. Hello, boys. So these lions are about 5 years old, just under 5 years old. So coming into their prime, and there we go, here comes the Ellie. Now, of course, the true king of the jungle is the elephant, not the lion. And you can see the massive size difference between them. And there we go, I think this elephant is going to chase that lion. Let's have a look. It can smell the lion, but it's lost sight of it. Oh, there we go, the lion's running. Chris says this is cool. It indeed is very cool, Tris. Now, these males are new male lions that are moving into this area. The elephant's decided it's seen the lions off. It's going to keep going. So we've got people watching from all around the world. Philippines, Australia, India. And it is wonderful to have you on the vehicle with us. There we go. Here comes the male, and you can see the other two are now lying right in front of us. You can see it's quite a cold and windy. Good morning to Dave Kidd, who's a friend of Scott's and mine from school, who's also watching. Hello, David. Surprised you're not fishing this morning. There we go. they are starting to scent mark and take over this area from the Birmingham boys. Now, that's the other coalition of male lions who haven't been around for a while. But you can see, there we go, having a good sniff. Now, they stole a kill from another pride of lions called the Inkahumas 2 days ago, but obviously they finished it, and there wasn't too much meat left because they are still looking quite hungry. This is ideal hunting weather with windy condition and cool conditions. Now, remember, if you want to continue watching, you can join us on YouTube for the next couple of hours as we follow these lions for the rest of the morning. But if you're at work and you are busy, just keep a lookout for that go live notification. Who knows what these lions are going to get up to next. So from myself, Brent, and my cameraman David, hopefully we'll see you live on YouTube in a few minutes. Well, I was sort of hoping for Tundi, but having the Avoca boys back from that kill. Yesterday I came around Buffelshoek Dam a few times hoping they were going to come down, and they have, and there obviously wasn't too much meat left on that buffalo. One of them is not looking well fed at all. Oh, elephant's having a drink. Stranger, lone elephant cow. I wonder where the rest of her herd is. And she really ruined the lion who was stalking the waterbuck's chances. Now, David's wondering, if the male lions take over this territory, will they bring in a new pride? No, David, they will take over the existing prides. They will kill all cubs that are under or female cubs that are under 3 years old, which will immediately make the mothers go into estrus, and they will be able to breed with them and produce cubs of their own. There we go. 3 almost big boys. Elizabeth's wondering, do I think they're all the same age? Yes, I do, Elizabeth. Actually, as far as our information tells us, there are 3, they're triplets. They're from the same litter. See, that one's got a little bit of a bigger and darker mane than the other two. And they haven't got all the scars and war wounds that older lions have just yet, but I'm sure they're about to get some scars and war wounds as they try to take over their own territory. There's Blondie. He's the blonde and the blondest of the 3. Here are you. Okay, well, I'm going to definitely sit with these lions in this cool weather to see what they get up to next. In the meantime, let's see where Hurly Birdie McCurdy is.
Well, we've just arrived. Oh, I forgot I've got a roof on today. We've just arrived at Chitwa Dam. And so, what I do want to show you are the 2 crocodiles. They're together, which we don't often get to see. Well, not quite together, but they're within a few meters of one another. You can see them. You can also see how it's a mizzle today. It's just spitting with rain at the moment. And there's one crocodile. It's crazy. Look at that camouflage. You can see how the tail actually You can actually see the tail sort of in the water. There we go. So it just goes to show in that particular area, it doesn't seem like the water's too churned up. Maybe that's because there's a lack of hippos there. And then there's the other crocodile. Hello, other crocodile. They're such creepy looking animals, aren't they? And this is one animal in Africa, well, I suppose. Even the saltwater crocs in Australia would probably terrify me, that I would not get into the water with, knowingly. Perhaps I've already swum with them, and I just didn't even know. But yes, I'd be keeping away from all the crocs. Now I wonder where Snappy is, the offspring of Vlad and Boris. And then there's some hippos, but I'm going to go to the other hippos down on the other end, I think. And then we're going to sit here. We'll just have a quick little look around, and then we're going to carry on. We're going to go towards the west, not the western corner, the eastern corner, to look for leopards. Hi, hippos. Now, I'm just scanning. It's terrible light. It's still really, really dark and hard to see. So I'm just checking those planes to make sure there's no one moving around. Donald, you were wondering if the wind tends to obscure the tracks. Yes, it does, because it blows a lot of sand and other bits of debris around, and which obviously ends up inside the track. So it can be quite difficult then to try and age it. You know what really obscures tracks is this drizzle that we've got at the moment. It's a nightmare, because you can't really see very well. Animals are on edge this morning, all nervous. Waterbuck running away. It's all happening. I'm going to go down here quickly, whee, and then back around towards the dam. Bounce through here. I was actually looking for a herd of elephants. Sheldon said to me there was quite a big herd of elephants that just left the dam and went south. I suspect they've gone into the drainage line to feed, though. I wouldn't want to be feeding out in the open today. It'd be a bit chilly. I think there's a family of waterbuck. Hello, family of waterbuck. Are you freezing today? I might have to add another jacket on at some point too. Couple of little ones. And you can see them. Ears pricked right up. Nose is working overtime. Also checking over their shoulder. Today is a good hunting day. Well, for leopards and lions. And that waterbuck would make a great leopard snack. Or one for a lion too. You can see they're going to be staying out in the open. I don't think the waterbuck or impala or even the kudu and the nyala might step out into the open today. It is exceptionally windy. You probably hear the wind blowing, and then you can also, well, you can see the grass and things moving around, and it's actually just got infinitely worse. They're not sure about us. The cow's keeping an eye on us. Not too sure at all. I don't know if they're coming down to the water to have a drink or what their plan is. Let's go have a look at the hippos. Lily, I think you've chosen the wrong day to ask for little baby elephants at the water, I'm afraid. It's miserable. I don't know how many Ellies are going to come down and swim in this. Of course, there might be a few that like to break the rules, but it's not a particularly nice day. And if those waterbuck were on the nervous side, you can also imagine that the elephants are going to be, well, not too happy when they come down to the water's edge, especially if they are young calves. Cows are going to be very, very nervous, just like those waterbuck, in fact. The only ones that are going to be quite happy today are the hippos. They'll be in the water. They can drop right down that just their ears, their eyes, and their nose, or their nostrils are just basically sticking out of the water and keep away from the wind. There's also that pied kingfisher that just dived on in. Did you get something? Can you face this way? Oh, no, it is facing this way. No, it didn't win. It did not catch one. Now, apparently you saw a kingfisher eat a fish yesterday with Tristan. I don't know if it's the same kingfisher. I feel like this dam is a hot spot, and I have seen many, many pied kingfishers. I've even just seen another one land somewhere else. So it's probably not the same one from yesterday. There's a huge chance that it is a different one. And having a good old clean now. That'd be quite cool in slow-mo. Watching that bird, if we could get really, really close and watch it grooming in slow motion. Goodness gracious, all the animals are running around now. Well, we'll have a little scan around to see if there is anything about the dam. Otherwise, we'll continue our search for the elephants. Or if we go back to Brent, whose lions seem to be frozen.
Now, we're still sitting with the lions. They haven't moved yet. But there's always a chance with this cool weather. Let's go a little bit closer. So, after yesterday's sightings where we didn't actually have the best view of them, this is really nice. We can actually have a proper look at the boys. Hello, big boy. Good looking lions, I'll give them that. Mane's developing. You can see the darkness coming through on this little boy now. Not too many scars. There's a few. And those will probably be from either the fight with the Nkahumas or with his brothers. Now, as far as I know, from the information we've received, they are from the same litter. So, all three of them the same age, just under 5 years old. And that's almost the exact same age that the Birminghams were when they came in. Alright, let's move a bit closer. Now, Angela is wondering, why don't the lions chase the people inside the cars? Well, Angela, we pose no threat. These lions have grown up with game drive vehicles around them. One must remember that while we're in the car, they don't see us as people. They just see a big thing that smells like diesel and, oh, in our case, petrol and oil. Oh, he's pretty. There he is. I do love the way the lions look at you. The 1,000-yard stare. Now, so if we were on foot, they would probably run away, Angela, but in the vehicle we're completely safe, and they pose no threat to us whatsoever. Now, of course, if we had to drive badly, drive aggressively, chase them with the vehicle, that would be a very different story, but as long as we drive carefully and respectfully, we can get very, very close to these incredible animals. Gary's wondering, is there a dominant male, or do they share the dominant role at the moment? Gary, we haven't spent enough time with these lions to know. And what happens in male lion coalitions is the dominance sort of hat bounces around between the individuals. Who's the most hungry, who's the most eager to meet females, who isn't carrying any injuries. So it all depends. And nothing can sleep quite like a lion can. Rictus is wondering, are the Avocas the first real lions to challenge the Birminghams? Well, I wouldn't say they've challenged them yet. They've come into the area while the Birminghams are way down south, and only time will tell whether they are a true challenge to the Birminghams. Now, the Birminghams are busy sorting out other male lion coalitions down in the south, so it's definitely not if they came back, it wouldn't be their first fight. However, it might be the first serious fight for these young boys. Almost looks like he's hugging that piece of elephant dung between his front paws. Ildi says, do these lions seem rough? Was this what younger males look like? This is very much what younger males look like while their manes are still developing. And it's sort of that awkward phase. Although these guys have got relatively impressive bottom manes, but you can see this top, they're still sporting the mohawk hairstyle. And of course, as they get older, that will change. Now, Nikki says it looks like a receding hairline. Well, even though the lions look like they've got a receding hairline, it's actually an increasing hairline. It just looks like that when they are young boys. Yeah, you look silly. So I was saying, they're not too battle-scarred yet. You can see their ears are still intact, not tattered and torn. And that'll obviously change with the older they get. A few nicks and scratches, most likely from arguments over food with the other males in the coalition. What a toofy you got sticking out there. Tansy would like to know whether the Avoca males would accept that lone Salala lioness into their group. It's difficult to say, but probably not. But who knows? That's the thing. You never know what can happen. But they most likely wouldn't accept the lone Salala lioness just yet. She's still quite young. And so they probably wouldn't accept her. Hey boys. Okay, well, we're going to continue to sit here and see if these boys get up to anything. In the meantime, let's go back to Tristan to see how his search for Hukumuri is going.
Well, so far no luck. We haven't picked up too much. There is tracks for a leopard, but it looks like a younger male. It doesn't look like Hukumuri with his long toes. And so I don't know who it could be. Maybe Tamba or Hosana that was moving around straight in the central parts of Djuma. So we're just trying to scratch around and just see what's going on. Unfortunately, the tracks, we lose them just kind of close to Philemon's dip area, and so I'm just doing like loops around at the moment to try and check if I can find some sort of sign of where this leopard maybe have walked. If it's Tamba or Hukumuri or even Hosana, they all like to use this Rebecca's Road, and then there's a termite mound that follows the drainage line and they sit on top there. So I want to try and just quickly check up that way and have a little look and see if maybe I get lucky with some semblance of tracks in the area. But it's a very kind of tough day to see tracks as well. The roads are, it's grey, soft light, and so the tracks are a little bit nondescript at the moment, which makes life a little bit more difficult, but we'll persevere. I'm sure we'll be okay. Hopefully, as the sort of sun is coming up and warming up, that the cloud will lift a little bit and we'll get a bit of a brighter morning, but I don't think so. Sorry, Seb, I know I've braked very, very hard, but here are the tracks that we're looking for. So there's tracks for what looks like a leopard straight in front on the road coming on the left-hand side. There you can see them, although those look quite big, don't they? That almost looks lionish to me. I need to actually see these a little closer, but that's the tracks we're looking for, well, any tracks we're looking for, and they're on top of the vehicle tracks. So I just want to have a quick check as to who this may be. No, so it is a male leopard, just a big male leopard. So I wonder if this is not... interesting. These are big. Is this maybe not a lioness? Could be a lioness. I don't know, I need to just double check these a little bit better, but interestingly that they come down this way, because Tax said he drove Zoe's and he didn't pick up any tracks coming here, so I'm interested to know who this could be. Maybe Anderson is here, can you imagine that? That's about the size of his tracks. That would be very cool. Bob, you're asking how many lion prides, leopards do we actually track? Well, in terms of leopards at the moment, it's very difficult to give an exact number, but because of how much movement there is. But essentially we can track in this area, we can have Tandy and the cub, so that's 2. We could have Shadow and the cub, 4. Kuchava and her cub is 6. Then you've got Quarantine potentially, Hukumuri, Shadulu, Tamba, Hosana, Tingana, Who am I forgetting? Djuma. So that's already 12 individuals already, which is a lot of leopards. In terms of the lions, Six Pride and Kahuma Pride, possibly Torchwood Pride, Avoca Males at the moment, and Birmingham Males. Those are the lions that we can sort of find. And now this little Solala young female as well that's moving about. So there's quite a number of them that are in these areas, and I see the rain starting to come down quite heavily now too as well. But it's a lot of individuals that we can try and track and follow. Unfortunately, not all of them live here all the time. So we get a situation where we kind of sometimes just get little bits of their life as they go. Now, I just want to double check. These are definitely leopard tracks, but there is definitely rain on top of them. So they're not the freshest of tracks. Very, very big leopard tracks though. These are monstrous. I actually wouldn't be surprised that these could even be Anderson's tracks, which is quite strange because I know obviously Anderson doesn't come here, but these are far bigger than any of our other males that we see in this area. They are positively monstrous. Okay, well, we're going to try and see if we can find whoever these belong to, because they were on the road and then they all of a sudden just cut off and don't sort of appear anywhere else and haven't come out anywhere. So I want to just double check where these go, but they come all the way down from the west. We know Anderson and Hukamuri were having a bit of an altercation to the west of us yesterday, or southwest of us, and maybe the two of them have then followed it on here, and that's why one track is coming north and the other one coming west. Maybe it's the two boys kind of having a little thing. We'll try and see, and hopefully we can find them. The problem is they're going the opposite direction, so I do need to turn around at some point and just kind of reassess where I'm going and how I'm going to do it, because like I say, nothing comes out on Philemon's cut line and nothing comes out on sort of Ingwe Alley or anywhere there. Right, I'm going to check these tracks very carefully. While I do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy and see what she's busy with and whether she's got any interesting updates for us.
Well, I do, but I'm going to have to jump off of the car. Now, remember, we have got our rain roofs on. Oh my goodness, almost pulled my earpiece cable right apart. I think Tristan's done that a few times. So we also have leopard tracks. Here are ours. These are also relatively big leopard tracks. I think these might be Tingana's tracks, in fact. So actually, this one is a better one, Craig. Let's do this one here. So if we look very carefully, and that's not how you draw a circle either. Likely this is not an art class. But you can see the toes here. And this is a sort of registered track. There's actually two leopard tracks on top of one another. I think this cat was moving quite quickly. And they come all the way down and around. We followed them for quite some time and are going back towards Gowrie Main now. So we're going to go check and then see where they cross. If they do cross north from here, that means that they would have gone into Torchwood. Then what we might do is quickly jump onto Cheetah Cut Line and have a little look around and see if we can't find anything there. Because I couldn't find the elephants that I was looking for, which is a pity. That would have been nice. But the elephants were the clever ones this morning and are keeping out of the wind and the rain. So, no, that's also not how you drive. I've parked in some very thick sand. Might need a bit of extra vroom. Okay. Now, Julia, I've got off the car now. I mean, I've got back in the car, but you're wondering what is the difference between a leopard and a lion track? Well, hopefully we'll be able to show you a lion track, and then it's easier if you, of course, see it. But it also depends, I suppose, on the sex of whether it's male or female. So I often, and I think a lot of people do, can get confused with sub-adult lion tracks, and sometimes you can confuse them with leopard tracks because they're about the similar size. When they get to about a year and a half, their feet are the size of, I suppose, a male leopard's tracks. But what you must remember is a leopard's track is really, really quite round in comparison to a lion track. A big male lion track is, of course, enormous. You cannot confuse a male lion track with anything, except I have seen one female that had massive feet. But with a female lion's tracks, their tracks are longer than they are wide, whereas male lion tracks they're as wide as they are long. So they're a fairly square track, if you will. Not really, because of course there's no square parts on a lion track, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. These leopard tracks are still growing out. And then it's the same sort of thing with the female leopard. Their tracks are slightly more narrower than a male leopard's tracks. Remember, those males, they get so big, a lot of weight in their shoulders, so they typically do have sort of rounder feet. See what else has been happening here. Lots of hippos going up and down, crossing the road. So we're gonna keep driving. I have a suspicion that these tracks are gonna go straight towards Gowrie, Main. The fact that we're basically here now, I can see the power lines. So I think let's quickly race to the edge and have a look. See here. Now, Mina. Oh, by the way, Mina, have we told you about the nickname we've given you so we don't get confused with your Nina and Mina? So you will now be affectionately known as Mina Moo. Mina Moo, which is quite cool. There we go. You get a nickname from all this Safari Live gang. And now I've forgotten your question though, because I got so excited about the fact that we've given you a nickname. So Nikki's going to have to tell me again. There we go. Now, there we go. Minamu, you're wondering if the season ever affects the animal, or if ever the I don't know what's wrong. I think you go back to bed and try and wake up again. This is not going to be my day. I don't know where these tracks go, but I'm sure they cross out here. Basically, does the seasons affect the animals' behavior? I suppose only with feeding habits, and then we tend to see a lot of the herbivores being more stressed in the winter months, obviously because there's not much for them to eat. With the predators and things, I can't say that I've actually noticed a change really at all. But definitely with the herbivores there seems to be some change. I'm pretty certain that these tracks cross north into Torchwood, but I'm trying to think who spends a lot of time in Torchwood. And those are big leopard tracks. They're definitely not small leopard tracks. I think they have to be Tingana's footprints, in fact. Who else would venture? Quarantine wouldn't come this way. I think this is a little bit too far north and west for him. He'd be in trouble, although he has tried to sneak on over here a few times. I think Tingana's had to give him a hiding and send him back, and then he runs back towards the Mala boundary on Cheetah Plains. That's actually happened more than once. Maybe he's also decided to put pressure on Tingana, and that's not impossible. So we'll keep checking here. And so that's what I think we're going to do. I think we're just going to check here very carefully. I think I'm going to check Cheetah Cut Line a little bit as well. Anyways, off you go, back across to Brent, who seems to be finding it difficult in the rain this morning.
So we just popped away from the lions for a second to put on our canvas rain covers. I still think it's going to stop shortly, and we're still with the lions. There we go. And they're looking quite comfortable. They'll enjoy this weather, as long as it doesn't rain too much. This cool sort of drizzle, and the big cats definitely prefer the cooler weather to the hot weather. Hey, they're so pretty. Not so many scars. But we're gonna sit here a little bit. If the rain continues for very much longer, Dave and I are gonna dash to the tent. But at the moment, I think we're okay for a little bit. But Dave is in charge of making the call for the equipment. And these lions just look like they are thoroughly enjoying this cooler weather. William is wondering, do the male lions work as a team to bring down prey? Indeed they do. They will be quite a formidable hunting force, like these three boys. And from the information we've got, like a lot of lions in South Africa, their favorite food is, wait for it, buffalo. So it's three male lions, will definitely enjoy a buffalo, and that combined strength of 3 big males will be more than enough to take on even the meanest, gnarliest old buffalo bull. Well, the weather is trying its best to prove me wrong, isn't it, Dave? Taylor's not too far away from us here, and it looks like there's more wind and rain coming in. So I think what we're going to do, Taylor's got a roof on, we're going to get Taylor into here, and I think Dave and I are going to go set up in the tent. So Taylor's on Chitwa line, so she's probably 5 or 6 minutes away. But while we head towards the tent and Taylor heads towards the lions, we are going to send you across to Tristan, who's still searching for Hukamori.
Well, I don't know if we are on Hukamori's tracks. It's difficult. The more I look at these tracks, the more I think female lion, which I suppose Anderson has that feel sometimes to his tracks, but they just look a little too big to be any of our leopards, that's for sure. And also the shape doesn't seem right at all. So I think we're on that lioness track, maybe the same one that Brent found on Nyala Road South. It makes sense because from here, cutting across, that would be pretty much where these tracks could end up going. So I think they're more along the lines of that young female lioness that we've been seeing around, the Solala lioness. Maybe she came up this way at some point, but I just, her movement that we know of was not in this area at all. So it's an interesting kind of thing to think about, but it definitely doesn't look like, it's not Hukamuri's tracks for sure, definitely not Hosana Tamba's. And so it would have to be, the only culprit that could leave a track as big as that would maybe be Anderson, but even then these look a little on the big side. So I would think that these are maybe for that Solala lioness. Maybe she came around and then just came down this way. The male leopard tracks that we were following are not in this area anymore. There's no sign of them here. I think he might have turned and gone back southwards. So I just want to go and check around Twin Dams area and just have a little look around there. Maybe we get lucky with something. It's starting to rain quite heavily now, as Brent is saying, which I'm having a little chuckle to myself this morning because Brent told me no, there will be no rain. That's why he's going to go without a roof. And well, as you can see, that has just changed, and so Brent Smith has now got tail between his legs off to the tent in order to try and hide away from the rain. Maybe this was his ploy all along, is that he didn't want to drive in the rain, so he just thought he'd take no roof so that he could get to the tent and stay nice and dry. Maybe that's what it is, or he wants another lamb sandwich. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to try and find out at some point what the story is. You know where else is a good place, Seb? Let's check this old hyena den quickly, because sometimes our leopards sneak into this area and sit around this section and nobody ever checks here because it's a dead-end road, but it's worth having a little look around and just checking to see what's going on. Maybe, just maybe, there might be some sort of sign of this individual here. Interestingly enough as well, actually, this is something that I wanted to do today, but now the rain is going to put a bit of a dampener on that. Last night when I was driving back from Chitwa, when the show had finished and we were kind of moving back towards home, I came along Weaver's Nest, and as we got to Philemon's Dip here, we just had a whole pile of hyenas coming out. So it was all the males that were there, so there were 5 of them in total, and they all came piling along Rebecca's road. And so I wonder if maybe there's not an area on Rebecca's that they may be spending a bit of time. It's because it's none of the females, I'm not really convinced that there's a den there, but maybe there's just somewhere that they're spending a lot of time, because often you come down here and there's just tracks for hyenas everywhere. And so I think it's where the boys are kind of hanging about. We know though that they'll sometimes just go to a random spot and lie down there and spend the day there, but it was just cool to see kind of 5 hyenas walking around on Djuma again. It's been a long time since I've seen that many kind of just walking down the road. It was very, very cool. So I was going to check around Rebecca's just to see if maybe there was something that was attracting them. The way that they were walking though, it seemed as though they were on a mission. Good. Now, nothing here at the old hyena den. No sign of any leopards or any hyenas themselves. And so while we carry on checking about, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy and, well, something that the leopards would love to eat.
Oh, they would love to gobble up an impala. Now, this fella doesn't look too impressed with the weather. You see his tail is tucked so closely around his bottom, trying to keep it nice and warm. And then, of course, the oxpecker is doing the same thing, clutching on tightly to that impala. Even though that little bird is feasting at the moment, you can see that bill is working so quickly, going through the hair, very finely, basically like a fine-tooth comb, collecting all the parasites, the mites, the tick larvae, all those delicious things. And then, of course, it is also trying to keep nice and warm by hanging onto the impala like that. So, good tactic from the birds today. I think that's what I'd be doing. If I had the foot structure of an oxpecker, I'd be holding on tight and, well, keeping away from the wind, keeping out of the rain. I'd probably be dangling underneath this impala's belly. That's where I'd be. And a few waterbuck also in the background that you can see just moving around. And I think that's what a lot of the animals are going to do, the ones that are staying out in the open, is that they're just going to sort of cower behind some shrubs, not necessarily stand underneath them, because, for instance, a big marula tree is not really going to stop much of the rain, especially if it's coming on side on with the wind, but best to use a shrub. Right, and these impala are really cool, though. You can see lovely horns, not anywhere near the size, however, of the impala and the mara. I actually wish I had a picture with me right now. You know what would be really quite cool? I wish we could have brought one back with us. So we could compare it to the size of the impala in South Africa. And these impala are looking good at the moment, and they all got big bulging bellies, which you don't normally see on antelope, but I suppose that vegetation is so lush at the moment, and these boys aren't working very hard. I mean, they're not fighting for territories, they're not fighting over the ladies, so now basically is the opportunity to get nice and fat. Basically, they're gaining all the weight, and then they're going to turn that into muscle soon. Now, as we look at this impala, Daryl, you're wondering about the black stripes on the impala's rear end. And thank you very much, Impala, for shuffling like that as we try to talk about it. I'm wondering if it serves any purpose. It does indeed. There's lots of different, of course, functions for various spots and stripes. However, the ones on the impala is a type of follow me sign. So in my opinion, the best example of a follow me sign is either a warthog with its tail in the air or the white ring around a warthog's bottom, which we'll try and have a look at some point too. So those three stripes are doing the same thing. As they're moving around one another, they're able to see those stripes fairly easy. So if they do dart off, they can sort of follow those. And how gentle that oxpecker is being as well, especially around the eye. And I don't know if any of you ever had birds as pets growing up. I did. I had parrots and I had budgies. I wasn't really allowed to have hamsters and things like that because my mother didn't like them. But we did have lots of birds. And my birds, whenever they would come out and sit around on me, oh, sorry, everybody. So basically, sorry about that, they drove straight through everything. Anyway, they could have gone the other way, but that's okay. Basically, what I was about to say is that whenever my birds, because my birds didn't really spend much time in their cages, only really to sleep at night to keep them nice and safe. Otherwise, they pretty much had free roam of the house and fly around everywhere. And then when they would sit with me on my bed or on the couch watching TV or doing something and I'd lay down, then of course they couldn't help but hop onto my face. And then it's always so sweet how they start cleaning. And they love eyelashes. Not pulling them out, but so gently sort of going through them as if to, of course, bonding with you. Because we know how important it is to groom. And they would always go to the corner of your mouth and try and get in your ears, and that would always be a little bit ticklish and I'd flinch. But they really are so gentle. So it's quite cool, this relationship that the oxpeckers have with the various animals. Impala, especially you having such a big bird on your face. Now, Juliana, you're wondering what happens if an impala breaks a horn. It might be a bit painful. I suppose it depends whereabout that it breaks it, because that brown part of the horn that we can see is a keratin coating. And often once you find a carcass of an impala, after a little while, that whole sheath basically slips right off. So I'm sure it'll be a little bit sore if it broke it right at the base, because there's bone there too, and that's going to be quite painful. But if they break a horn and they lose the one side of it, they lose it. They don't grow another one back, unfortunately. It's not like antlers. They don't just shed them. Like I said, there's bony protrusions that are actually fixed to their skull, and then those are covered with those keratin sheaths that we can sort of see with all the grooves on them. So the bone is actually smooth on the inside. It's just the keratin part that's created those ridges. And every antelope species that does get horns, on the males, and sometimes the females too, will have their own unique pattern on the horns. Hey, Oxpecker, you're doing a great job this morning. You're being very gentle. Your impala friend is getting a little bit annoyed with you. I'd also be annoyed if I had such a big bird in comparison to my face sitting on it, because then I can't see what's going on. I can't see around me. And on a day like today, using your ears is probably not going to help you, because you're just going to hear a lot of rustling of leaves and grass too. But there's a couple of them. So at least if they spot something, they'll be able to help one another. Oh, let's carry on. Now, unfortunately, Elizabeth, I'm not going to be able to fulfill your request this morning because I'm nowhere near where Janet Jackson lives. You might have to ask Tristan. We're right up here in Chitwa, and Janet Jackson's home is nowhere near where we are. So we're not going to go down that way. Unfortunately, sorry about that, but we're going to stick to this side and keep scratching around here and see if we can pick up on anything. So back we go across to Chitwa. Have a look. I wouldn't imagine Wilbur the warthog will be out. I don't think he'd come out of his burrow. I don't know if he's living in that old burrow of his. Maybe he's got another one. There's so many big termite mounds in that area. Oh, Craig is waving his cloth at me, so he's going to wipe the lens very quickly. There we go. All clean. Terrell, you said watching that oxpecker on that impala was making you rub your face a lot. I don't feel that. You know what I did though the other night was, after being attacked by all sorts of insects, even after having a shower, I still felt things crawling around on me, and it was terrible. I mean, that must be one of the most horrible experiences, is when you do have things crawling around on you, and initially, and then you go and you clean yourself up. Afterwards, that feeling lasts forever, and I could feel things in my hair. It was so uncomfortable. That's the thing I don't like about insects, is the places that they creep into. Lynn, you said your parakeet used to love to run her beak through your eyelashes. I think it's the favorite thing of the birds to do. It was very sweet the way that those little birdies bond with you. I had such cool ones. Sorry, Craig. I had Sammy and Simon, which were blue budgies. I didn't have them at the same time. I had them at different times. But I got them when they were really, really, really young. Just basically got their feathers. They were so cute. And then they would follow me around everywhere, on the floor, or they'd fly after me. They'd come to the shops. They'd sit on my shoulder. They'd do all the things. And then I had a black-headed conure, Moose the black-headed conure. He was really cool as well. I actually had a dream about him the other night. It was very sad. I woke up crying. It was terrible. Louise is in final control, probably laughing at me now because I told her the story, and then I started crying again. She's just like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, it was so sad, because he basically ended up dying in my arms when I was a teenager. I don't know if he had a stroke or a heart attack or something bit him, but he couldn't stand anymore. And he was funny because he used to tear up newspaper, and he would sleep not on a perch like a normal bird, because of course I can't have normal animals. He would go under, and he had a little box that he would go in at night, and he would sleep in all of the newspaper. Sometimes you'd even find him on his back, just sleeping. Just fast asleep, and if you scratched him between his wings on his back, he would actually roll over. It was more like a dog than anything. I'm so sorry, Craig. I almost just wiped you out there. He's not impressed with me now. He's not talking to me anymore. He's actually looking the other way. He's not even looking where he's filming. big branch accidentally whacked him. My bad. Well, these things happen. So yeah, so there we go. Now, I don't even know if I'm on Chitwa anymore because I do this all the time and I forget where the cut line is, but we'll give it a bash down here. Maybe we find them elephants, seeing as though we're heading into a drainage. Or if you go to Tristan though, he's probably got his hair blowing in the wind.
Taylor, no, I don't have hair like you. My hair is short. It doesn't really blow in the wind at all yet. It will get there though. If I don't get to a hairdresser by the time I next go on leave, it will be definitely fluffing in the wind. And as for not knowing where you are, and if you're on Chitwa, if you're heading into a drainage line and you're not heading north-south, then you are definitely not on Chitwa. So hopefully Taylor finds her way and decides to kind of, I suppose she's a smart enough girl. She'll be able to orientate herself. But then in these grey conditions, it becomes a little tougher to work things out. But the rain is still falling. There are no more tracks, and so what we're going to do is we're going to head towards those males and just go and sit with them now that Brent is back in his cozy little tent making himself, I'm sure he's making himself coffee and a sandwich and having a good old time while the rest of us are out in the rain. So it's, Brent is definitely, I would say this, what would the word be, Seb? Biggest scaredy cat of all, because he's the one that just doesn't want to brave the rain at all, and he's decided to retire into the tent. At least Taylor and I are going to brave it and stay out here for as long as possible and try and keep things going. And I'm interested to actually see these 3 male lions now that they are on our side and out and about and actually can get a good view of them. I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting to see them. I'm quite keen to kind of pay attention to what they look like and see how they are around us and vehicles and all those kind of things, because yesterday wasn't really lighting. It was just the top of their heads kind of poking out through the grass. So I'd be keen to kind of have a look at what they look like this morning. Chris, yes, when Brent Leo Smith is following wild dogs, these bumps are there to prevent him from probably writing himself off and his cameraman as well as any other animal. No, they're not speed bumps at all. This is not what we use them for. These are called bolsters and miter drains. So where you get a bump, you'll see that there's a cut into the grass. So I'll try and find one that, this is not a really good one. There's lots of nice ones on the road that we're going to go on to now. But basically that bump stops the flow of water, because when water goes, it goes on the path of least resistance, and so roads become basically like riverbeds and the water flows on the roads, and so those bumps stop the water gaining too much momentum and eroding the road itself, and then pushes it back into where it should be, which is in the bush itself. So if you have a look here, you've got the bump, and then to the right you've got this cut section. So as the water is flowing, it's hitting this bump and then it's being pushed into the bush itself, which is where it should be. So 1, keeps the roads in good condition, and 2, the water is then no longer just flowing down roads and not being absorbed by the bush. It's being pushed back into bush areas where it's then absorbed by plants and all of those kind of things. So it's a clever system that works very, very well. It's got nothing to do with speeding around here, but it does, I suppose, serve as that function too, because it definitely, you will not be able to speed on some of these roads as you go, because these bumps, some of them are hectic, particularly the ones going towards Philemon's Dip. Those are rather nasty, big, pointy bumps that can cause a lot of damage if you go too fast. But like I say, they work pretty well. So, Christopher, the predators will hunt in this if there's an opportunity. They generally don't actively go looking for food in this because, well, it's quite miserable, and we know that the cats hate it. Wild dogs, funny enough, will hunt in this, so it's good weather for wild dogs, but for the cats, not unless there's an opportunity that presents itself. If it goes into the night, then yes. When it's rainy in the night and dark and kind of drizzly, then you find that the cats are a lot more active, and the reason for that is that it becomes very difficult for any animal to hear what's going on with all the raindrops, as well as smell, and the noise of everything kind of makes it just hard for them to pick up what's going on. So it falls into the predator's favor. But in terms of during the day, no, the cats will try and just get themselves under a bush somewhere and curl up, and then only if an animal comes along will they try and hunt. But it's pretty miserable stuff for most animals. Most animals are going to try and seek some shelter under a tree somewhere. It's quite interesting, because you would think that they would seek shelter in, times when it's hot and sunny, but they also see shelter in the rain too. So it's a bit of both, I suppose. And it just goes to show that during the day, at any stage, it's kind of shelter time if there is rain or sunshine. So Daryl, you're asking if we're ever out during the night time. Here on Djuma, not very often. We do sometimes take the staff out for a drive after hours, just so that they can see something if we have a special sighting on the property, but not so much. And the reason why is because we have a curfew here, and the curfew is to do with the anti-poaching units and to try and just keep traffic off the road so that the poaching guys, anti-poaching guys, know if they see any vehicles or any signs of light or movement that it's something that shouldn't be there, and that causes, you know, them to try and kind of follow up and keep everything safe. So that means that we can't be out after 11, and so we spend very little time out here at night. It's in Kenya, in the Mara, when we're out that side, then the guys do spend a lot of time out during the night, and they'll spend all night out for a few days to try and kind of follow certain animals. I would love to follow certain individuals here. I think it would be really interesting to follow some of our leopards through the night, but the problem with that is that this area is off-roading, and following a leopard at night is not a simple task at all, and we'd probably lose a lot of the animals that we tried to follow. Good. Well, we're going to be almost at those lines, so we'll try and head in that direction. While we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor and see if she's found out where exactly she is and whether or not she is still on Chitwa.
I think I am, Tristan. I don't think I've quite got lost just then. Hang on, I'm actually going to jump out, Craig. You know that I'm going to go and have a look too. Yeah. Let me try and get myself unplugged. So we're looking at a tree at the moment, obviously, and this tree has got some mud on it. It's a muddy tree, but this muddy tree was created because of the elephants, I can imagine. It's perfect, basically. Go down, have a little mud wallow. There's also a little pan that I've never seen in my life that's full of mud. Great spots. And then, well, we know why elephants love to cover themselves in mud, to try and get rid of the parasites, try and cool themselves down. And then, of course, this is the perfect tree for an elephant to come and scratch on, because you can kind of, you know, if you're a big elephant, you could get one leg over that side. I'm not going to try and do it. And then you do the whole shake, or, well, you can do the side-on one too. You can do the little booty rubbed. You know, there's lots of different techniques the animals use here. But I actually wanted to come and see if we could find some ticks. Now, not only elephants are going to use this, other creatures like warthogs, rhinos, they'll also use a tree like this to rub on. It doesn't look like anybody's used it fairly recently. And it's quite wet from the rain, but as soon as I do touch it though, if you look at my fingers, you can see that there's a lot of mud coming off of there. And that wasn't just from the tree having a rub, it's from the animals rubbing up against it. But I can't see any ticks or any parasites on here. I wonder when it was last used. I did find a spider though, but it will be too far away for you to see. Craig? Let me try. Too small. You should be able to see something tiny and white. And you see that there. Very small. It looks like a dewdrop spider that's sitting there. I'm trying to have a look. It's very shiny. It's a little bit silvery. Or flay spiders, they're known as well. Lots of little critters and things living on this tree, but not any ticks that I was hoping to find. Oh well. Oh, and then, I mean, as soon as you start reaching points up here, you can see there's lots of mud up here. Even if I just touch it, it all starts to fall down. It's definitely from an elephant right up there. And then even under the archway, which is quite a unique spot. Actually, this is the area where there's the most mud, is underneath up top over here. And that'd be quite nice. It must be quite difficult for something as large as an elephant to rub its back, rub its shoulders. But that's a good spot. A perfect rubbing post tree. Very nice. Okay, we'll carry on. I need to wash my hands now, they're very dirty. Maybe I'll just try and use some water from the leaves here. Not much. It isn't raining hard like it's raining on Djuma, so I'm also staying away from Djuma. My hair does not like the rain. It's already frizzy today. Okay, let me get back in. We'll play. Try that again. Ta-da! Right. No luck with these elephants. I don't know where they have gone. Must have been sneaky. Ah, very nice, Tristan, very nice. It seems as though, well, somebody's going to pick up Brent's slack in the team, and Tristan, you're such a good teammate for doing that. Wonderful. I've just found some elephant tracks. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to send you to Tristan. Of course, he's at Buffelshoek Dam with the lions.
Well, indeed, somebody does have to pick up the slack where Brent is dropping the ball and heading off to go and be cozy in a tent. And so we've come back to these boys, and they are, well, two of them have gone and seeked shelter out of the rain, and the third one I'm pretty sure is going to go fairly shortly now. He's lying out in the open and he's kind of grooming himself, but this rain is coming down, and I'm pretty sure getting wet the way that they are is not going to be ideal, and I'm pretty sure they're going to try and seek some form of sort of shelter under one of the bushes and try and stay as dry as possible. But definitely, as Brent mentioned this morning, they are bigger than they first looked. So when we first saw them yesterday, they didn't look nearly as big as what they look now. So they could very well be 5 years old, and interesting that they kind of got short manes on the top, but they've got a little bit of fluff around the sort of chest area already, and look as though they're beautiful boys. And so hopefully we'll see a situation where, unfortunately, they don't stay here, because as much as they are pretty and they would be nice to have them around, it's better that we don't have them. So they must go and settle in Manyeleti, and they can come maybe in a few years' time when the Birminghams move off somewhere else, and not when we've got so many young cubs to be had. So that's the kind of hope, but it'll be an interesting sort of phase that we're going to go through now, because they look as though they're very at home, don't they? They're kind of just lounging about, and they don't look as though they're too worried, and why would they be? They've been sitting here for the last 3 weeks, and nobody's paid any attention to them and tried to chase them out. And if there was big dominant males here that they had to be concerned about, they would have thought by now probably that they would have shown themselves. So it's an easy situation for them at the moment. I think they're going to have a tough time, though, if the Birminghams do come. Even though the Birminghams might be older and bigger and more numerous, I think these guys, just the kind of sight of other male lions coming, might cause them to go. Be interesting. You never know. Sometimes you get a situation where these younger males do fight back, and it's going to be an interesting kind of process that we're going to see unfolding over the next little bit. A tree tuna, is that right, Nikki? A tree kuno. Right, so will these Avoca males get individual names, or is the Avoca coalition just their name? No idea. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens, because obviously it depends if they settle in this area and what goes on, but at this stage, no. At this stage, they're just going to be the Avoca coalition, but it makes it very difficult, because we have two Avoca coalition. So there's the three that we've got up in this side of the world, and then there's two down in the southern Sabi Sands. So one of the coalition's names is going to have to kind of go under a change, I think. Otherwise, we're going to have very, very, very confused people all over the place as to who's who. And so that's what I think is going to happen. Maybe we're going to get a situation where we'll get kind of one name change in terms of the coalitions, and individual names, if they settled in this area, probably they would get. But at this stage, no, they don't have any individual names, and no plans to name them until such time as we see what's actually going to unfold. They've only been here on Djuma for a day, so it's a little early to start kind of thinking about names and those kind of things. Like I said, they spend a lot of time in the Manyeleti area, and they come from quite far away, so we'll just have to wait and see whether they settle here or what the story is going to be. Maybe they're just going to be passing through for a little bit. But there we go, he's going to get up. Look at the size of that tummy as well. Big fat tummy that he's gotten, and obviously full of buffalo from when they chased off the Nkuhumas, and this individual seemed to have got the lion's share of it, as they say. Now a bit of a stretch. I wonder if he's got a little stiffness, because he seems as though he's quite stiff at the moment. Very pretty. Carol, you're asking if they'll grow any larger, so I'm pretty sure that they will. They are I mean, they are big boys, but I'm pretty sure that they will get some growth going, and their manes are going to get larger than what they are right now. They're still going to develop a lot more. They're going to get bigger heads, and I'm pretty sure even their body size might get a bit bigger. It's interesting though, because they do come from the same area as the Birminghams, and therefore have probably very similar genetic codes. That what the Birmingham males do. Obviously not the same females, but male-wise, it might actually be very similar males that mated with them. I'll have to try and find out exactly who the fathers were of the Birminghams and who the fathers were of these guys, because it would be quite interesting to see if it's a similar coalition. But anyway, there's some people that are trying to photograph us and not the lions, which is always a bit weird, given that you would think they're here to see wild animals and not us. And anyway, let's try and reposition ourselves, because this male has now found himself a spot. The other two males are lying just in front here. Oh, is he scent marking? So this individual seems like he's scent marking. Now, Caitlin, you're asking what a lion's mane feels like. Sorry, Seb, I'm trying to get out the way. These roofs and rain make it all very difficult for our cam ops. They have a tough time of it, because they've got to try and dodge not only me, but the roof and everything else. But the manes, they feel quite coarse. The hair on the lion is not soft hair, and it's a very coarse kind of feel, so almost like a bit of a kind of brush feel to it, but a little softer than maybe one of those brushes that you get, kind of a scrubbing brush. So it's not a soft fur that you would feel on something like a domestic cat. It is a lot more coarse than that. And these particular males, well, I wouldn't know in the slightest, because I haven't run my hand through any of their manes, and doing that is probably not the best thing in the world anyway. Impressive looking fellas though. They look as though they're going to be quite large. This individual particularly is very, very dark already. You can see, look at the back of his leg area, and the side of his body. He's got a black sheen on him already, which normally comes with dominance. So it's interesting that at such a young age already, that this guy is so dark. He's going to be a seriously impressive individual when he's a little bit older, and that mane really fluffs out, because he's going to get a very, very, very kind of dark color to him. And it's different to what we see from the Birminghams. Most of the Birminghams are actually quite light in coloration in comparison to this. And this male reminds me of a male that we used to see down in the southern part of the Sabi Sands called the K&P male. And he was a male that came out of Kruger, and he also had a very dark kind of tone to his body. So it's going to be a beautiful individual when his mane fluffs out. And certainly are not small boys. They'll provide some resilience to the Birminghams if they try. The other two I haven't really seen. I just saw one get up and move into the bush, so I haven't really seen the other two properly. But this guy looks like he's going to be a handsome fella later in life. They've also got very nice eyes. Well, this guy in particular, they're quite sort of butterscotch coloured. They're not as light as what the Birminghams are. Interesting to have different lions around. It's always a kind of uneasy, interesting time when you get a lot of lions in these areas and different males around, because you never really know what's going to go on. But like I say, these guys don't look as though they're really too worried about going anywhere at this stage. They're pretty happy to be in this area and to be doing their thing. Oh, are you going to curl up and lie down? That does not look comfortable at all, boy. Well, I suppose each to their own. If that's what he feels like doing and that's what is comfortable for him, then I suppose that's what it is. Right, now, while we sit with these males and get soaked and watch them get drenched, let's send you to the one who was not brave enough to actually stay out in the rain and ended up going back into the tent and is now warm and dry in his little tent, and wonder what he's got to say for himself.
Well, you know what, Tristan, if you've been in the Mara and been as wet as many times as I have, a tent's quite a nice change. And it's quite exciting to be in the tent, because we can discuss things at length with some toys that we're going to be able to use. One of the things I'm still, sorry, there we go. Let me just get my bearings here. There's Null Sprite. And is the Claseri Timbavati. Now, we've just been, obviously, with the Avoca Males for a lot of the day, so I just wanted to show you exactly where they come from. So I'll show you where we are. So, if we go in, whoop, 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 Mala Mala, Gari Gate should be, there we go. That's Gowrie Gate there. Oopsie. I'm not used to using PCs. So currently those male lions are... Oh, why is this thing being so funny? There we go, that's Buffalo's Hook Dam. That's where those male lions are sitting at the moment, right along around there. Now, if we go out, and we go all the way through the Manuleti Game Reserve, there's Manuleti Main Camp, and we keep going, there is the magnificent Timbavati River. Now, there's Valferdient. I'm just trying to get my bearings. Aha! Now, that should be the Avoca. No, that's Sandringham. Sorry. There we go. We should be here now. Let's just have a quick look. Yes, there's Timbavati Safari Lodge. Okay, this is the Avoca Road. And if we run... it goes this way. If we go down the Avoca Road, it's the boundary of Thornybush and Timbavati. So that is Avoca here. So this area, in this part of the Timbavati, this corner here is the area that Pride comes from. So you can see quite a productive area. It's just on the edge of the Mopani Fault, but we've still got quite a lot of little river systems. So if we, I don't know, do you remember? Can you make a line on this thing, Davey? I might have to figure that out just now. So okay, so that's where the Avoca males are from. This area up here, and we are down here. So you can see it's quite a substantial distance that they've travelled. So they've travelled through the Timbavati, across the Timbavati River, and then across the main road. And the main road here is open. So you've got the Timbavati on one side and the Manuleti on the other. And then this is the Kruger here. Oh, go away. Nasty thing. And so they've probably done... as the crow flies, I said I'll work it out just now, but probably around 50 or 60 kilometers till they've arrived all the way down here on Djuma. So quite a big distance. I mean, from there all the way to down here. Very, very interesting to see how far lions actually move. Gary would like a tour of the skull collection a little later. Gary, I'm keeping the skulls for a little bit later, so we'll definitely have a look at the skulls a little later. Now, actually, Gary, since you asked, well, we're going to ignore James. That's James. Say hello, James Henry. Oop, hello. I'm going to stop touching that. So that's James. I think we should call that skeleton James. Here we go. Let's start off with quite a difficult skull. So I'm going to get you guys to tell me which skull this is from. So it is a little carnivore, and you can see quite a big brain and quite large backside of it. And you can see quite impressive teeth for a small carnivore. There we go. Rah, rah. So who can tell me what skull is this from? Hashtag Safari Live if you know the answer. What little carnivore does this skull belong to? And you can see it's about the size of my hand, just a little bit smaller. So you guys can let me know which carnivore is that from. Now, speaking of carnivores, Tristan is still with the new Avoca Males.
I am indeed, and one has just woken up a little bit. He was having a good nap, and now he's decided just to have a little wake up and look around. Kind of had a stare off at his brothers, who are curled up in the long grass and are barely visible at this stage. And so I think he's maybe got a bit of FOMO. He wants to go and join them maybe for a cuddle. It's cuddle weather for lions. They often do like to kind of sit together in this horrible wet weather, and maybe that's why he's looking ever so longingly at the others, hoping that he could squeeze in there. But I don't know if there's going to be any space for him where he is. There's lots of long grass in that area, and so I think he's going to have a tough time in trying to find a little place to sit with them. So it'll be interesting to see, though, if he does go there. Also, the nice thing is the rain has gotten far more gentle. There's not really nearly as much rain as what we had a little bit earlier, so it's quite nice, and it's hopefully going to ease off, and these boys then come out of where they're lying and actually get onto some area where we can actually see them quite nicely. That would be the best, well, all three of them to kind of lie up. I suppose this morning you guys would have seen a lot of good stuff with them. I know Brent was here, and so it means that they were probably on the dam all most of the morning, which means you probably have seen all three of them very, very well. But it would be nice. I think Seb would also like to see them, wouldn't you, Seb? Would like to see the other two out as well. But quite impressed with these guys. They're a lot bigger than what I first thought. They're definitely not small boys, and like I say, our estimates on their age were just based on the tops of their heads, but as we can see now that they definitely are not as young as we first thought. So they are 5 years old is about right, I would imagine, and these manes are only going to get bigger and puffier in the next few months and year coming, because they are going to start dominating, and as soon as they become dominant in an area and start scent marking, that flood of testosterone is going to cause massive amounts of growth in those manes. Look at the size of that paw. That's pretty amazing. Now, Jason, in terms of how many years lions live, it's obviously dependent on areas and competition and those kind of things. But in general, if we average out sort of lions, male lions will normally live anywhere between sort of 12, 13 years. Sometimes you might get a male lion that goes closer towards 15, but that's very uncommon. And with females, they're normally around 16 years as their general sort of life, 15, 16 years. Sometimes also can push a little bit later towards 18 years. So the females do live longer, and the reason is that they have far less competition in terms of having to defend a territory, even though they are part of a pride and those kind of things. The pride together helps to kind of keep things safe, whereas coalitions of males is obviously, as we're seeing now, the Birminghams are going to have to put up with a new, young, strong coalition that they're going to try and fight with, and so males tend to get themselves into fights a lot more, and they have a rougher life, which means their bodies tend to break down a little quicker than what you see from the females. But it's obviously, like I say, dependent on areas. Some lions tend to survive longer. I know there was a male lion in the Pilanesberg National Park, which is in South Africa, and that male, I think, was almost 19 or something stupid like that, which is very, very old. So, you can never kind of write them off, and there's going to be sort of outliers to those averages in both males and females. So we'll see how it goes with our Birminghams, but they'll be interesting to see how long they last for. Dale, interesting question. Don't really know, to be honest. The answer to that is I'm not quite sure. I would imagine that if an Nkuhuma female did come into estrus and she found these boys, and these boys spent a bit of time here, she might mate with them, not because she wants to fall pregnant with them, but maybe just to try and kind of fool these guys into thinking that she's not a threat, and they then don't try and attack her in any way. Also, maybe she mates with them just as to cover all bases. So she might find if a female comes into estrus, she'll mate with these guys as well as the Birminghams, just in case that these guys take over in the course of her kind of falling pregnant and having her cubs, that she can maybe protect them. So probably yes. Whether these guys have mated before, I'm not quite sure. It'll be interesting to know. I don't think there's been any reported cases of them mating just yet, but I'm sure a female, the Nkuhumas particularly, are pretty savvy girls and pretty clever, and so they'll know that they need to try and set up some sort of situation where they keep themselves safe, and if that means mating with these guys as well as the Birminghams, or just these guys, I'm sure that they will do it. If these guys do assert themselves and they start to scent mark and vocalize and they push the Birminghams out, then for sure, obviously, the Nkuhumas will mate with them, much like they did with the Birminghams. Even though the Birminghams did kill one or two, they still ended up, kind of mating with them and sorting and being a part of that whole process. Good. Now, we're going to kind of sit with them a little while longer. I'm hoping that maybe some more Ellies come down or something like that tempts these guys into waking up a little bit. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who I think has found signal and maybe has gotten herself out of the lost situation that she was in.
I thought I was going to have to do another DNC drive and chat with all of you, but thankfully, thank you, elephants, for being here today, because we've got animals to talk about now. Hello. I know, I'm sorry, but otherwise I cannot see any of you. Do you mind if I just drive here? I'll be quiet. I won't make too much noise. Hello, girl. Hello. I'm going to try and get that view. So we've got the roof on, of course. Hello, beautiful. I apologize that I came in and disturbed your breakfast. That was not my intention this morning. Please carry on. There we go. Okay, so basically, maybe she just stood up for me and she took her hat off. She's polite, greeting us. But she's going to carry on now. And you can see that the rain is starting to come down. Look at all those little drips and drops on her head. That's a good indicator to tell whether it's raining or not. I suppose you can just use an elephant head. There she is. No, man, stop being silly. No, she's not overly upset with us. I think she's just gone, I'm just tucking into that tree, and now you disturb me. I'm really sorry, but there also are lots of bushwallows you can eat. Otherwise, we weren't going to see any elephants whatsoever. And just giving me the cold shoulder. A little bit rude. I did apologize, but okay. Anyways, but it's a nice breeding herd of Ellies. And Gizmo and a few others, you're all saying, woohoo, even me, because I'm happy to talk about animals. And then there's 2 young elephants actually in front of us. And of course we've got leaves blocking the way again. But I'm wondering, Craig, if I go back a bit, I'm probably going to get a better view. Hey, okay, we're just going to reposition here very quickly, because those young elephants are quite funny. I'll show you what they're doing in 2 seconds. There we go. Now we can watch the little Ellies, because they're the best. Now, what they seem to be doing is struggling to break branches this morning. So that one on the right that's now actually managed to break it, well done, is biting it. Look how it's just chewing it. Which is quite a cool thing to see elephants doing. And often when you are young and you're unable to strip the bark as well as a big elephant, typically you break the branch completely, and then you twirl it and corkscrew it around in your mouth, and then that moves the bark away. This is what Mom just did there. Mom just pushing that older calf. Oh, gentle. That's no need to. It's not us. It's not us. It's not us. It's not us. Relax. I'm just giving them a bit of room. They're not angry at us, but again, this misplaced aggression, things can go south fairly quickly. What happened, and I just don't want them to push towards us, that big cow, that one, there was a little elephant laying on the ground, and she went over like a big bully and basically used her foot and kicked it. So that little elephant, you heard it trumpet, it got up and tried to run away, and perhaps that's Mom that came charging in to find out what was going on. But the elephant that's now flapping her ears and making that noise, she's not an old elephant, so she's not going to be as high ranking. And I reckon that girl on the right-hand side, it must be one of the matriarchs. She's a very, very big cow. But we've even got another cow coming in. They're all coming around to see what's happened. But the reason why I moved away like that, the reason why I did do that, see, look here, was because the one cow came charging towards us, and we know about misplaced aggression is that maybe she thought we'd done something to her calf. And the last thing I want is to be trapped with 4 angry cows and their little ones in an area with quite thick vegetation that I'm not going to be able to get away quickly if they do decide that they don't want me around anymore. So good just to put a bit of space between us, but that's the only reason why I did that. And then I also just told the other elephant off, pointed her to saying it wasn't me, I didn't do anything wrong. There we go, starting to settle down a little bit more now. But unnecessary. I don't know why that cow did that. I don't know if she was worried that it was sleeping on the ground. Now, you can start to see the rain is really coming down now. Luckily for us, we've actually got a bit of marula tree helping us out here. Lots of bush willows around us. And then, of course, our roof. Hello, girl. Hello. Hello. What's wrong? The other way, she's just coming to us with flare. No, that's fine. She's just sort of sussing us out. You can come and eat her, that's fine. Come, there might be some marulas down on the ground next to my car. Shame, there's that little elephant that got told off. Oh, it's okay. Mom's here to protect you now. It was really interesting to see that, Shame. Now, feeling a bit sorry for herself, having a suckle from Mom. It'll feel much better now that Mom's around. There we go. Come on, little one. I'm sorry that you got stood on. I don't know why she did that. She's being a bully, though, today. She's bashing all the little elephants. I think what was going on, it looks like she's trying to dig for the roots of that bush willow tree, which they'd pushed over. So maybe that's why she moved the little one. She said, actually, get away from here. I'd like to eat here. Hello, little baby. Oh, is your leg sore? What's wrong? Yes, keep up with Mum. She'll look after you. Just probably trying to have a snooze. Absolutely exhausting being a little elephant. Off they go, away. I think that was a good call from Mum. Maybe just go and feed somewhere else until that cow settles down. She seems to be a serious grumpy grouch. Oh, Craig, this one's having a dust bath right here. Now this is better. Now they're all settled down quite nicely. This is awesome. Now, Natural Bee, you're wondering if the elephants have had... There we go. That goes into elephant fails. I'll have to get back to your question. Did you see what she tried to do? She tried to throw the sand all over her body, but then her trunk got caught on the branch, so that was a fail. That didn't work. Anyway, so Natural Bee, you're wondering if they're nervous or stressed because of the wind and the rain. I actually don't think this whole situation had anything to do with the wind and the rain, because where we are now is we're very sheltered. Yes, there is a little bit of rain, but there's barely any wind. It's so nice and sheltered here. So I think that all that was her being bossy and wanting to feed on the roots of the tree because she was digging. And that young calf that we just saw cross the road was actually having a siesta at the base of where the roots were sticking out. And I think she just, instead of politely going, hey, little darling, do you mind moving? She just used her foot and kicked it out of the way. And obviously upset a couple of cows. They came to go on in and see what was going on. But it's all calm and peaceful now. Now they're very happy. And the fact that they're eating again, there's no more trumpeting. We know trumpeting is not necessarily a nice sound. Sometimes young elephants do when they get excited, but normally when you hear the adults going brrr, it's because they're slightly on the upset side. Hey, you can come and eat her, that's fine, I don't mind. Very cool. I'm glad they've settled down a little bit now. Well, we're going to sit with these elephants for as long as they hang around. Brent, however, is ready for all of your answers for the quiz that he was playing.
Well, yes, there we are. Now, of course, this is James's home, so I've got to be very careful. Let's make sure James is standing up straight. James really doesn't like bad posture. Indigo Girl says wildcat. Unfortunately not. We do have some wildcat skulls here, not of the African wildcat, but of the serval. So there we go. There's a serval skull. So you can see it's a lot more delicate than the skull that we asked you for, and you can also see probably a lot more omnivorous diet with those teeth as opposed to the kitty cat teeth. Now the dude says hyena skull, and again too small for a hyena, although this is quite a small hyena, this skull. It's not a very big hyena, but you can see even a small hyena is much bigger than that, and you can also see the teeth again. Aha! Matt says jackal. Matt? Unfortunately not. So you can see the skull is a lot more robust than a jackal skull. So here's the jackal skull here, this one. And you can see a lot more robust than the jackal skull, but you're getting towards the right sort of body size. Tatya and Daryl say caracal, and again, that would be, a caracal skull would be a slightly bigger version of the serval skull. So a slightly bigger, but very similarly shaped to the serval skull. So not a caracal. So Sierra, again, not a serval, as we say. There's the serval up there. So it is not a serval. So Michael, Yubombo Girl, Aqua, and David, and Robbie, you gotcha. So there we go. Honey badger skull. So if we take it out, you have a look. You can see it's mostly a carnivore, but with the teeth like that, it has omnivorous tendencies as well. You can see the canines are not as sharp as on the big cats. They don't really have that cutting edge along the back that you get in true cats. So there we go, honey badger. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pop that back there. So we've gone through a few of our skulls. We've got a few more to do, but in the meantime, let's go back to animals that still have all the fur, all the skin, all the tendons attached to their skull with Tristan.
Well, yes, they do. They are still fully alive and fully capable of moving around. Interesting, though, the one is not that comfortable with vehicles. It just kind of got up now and moved a little bit into the thicket. It was kind of watching us for a while, and there it goes. It seems to be kind of the smallest of the three. It's just moving off and wasn't that comfortable with where we were. For some reason, they were fast asleep and then just got up and kind of looked at us and then trotted off towards that area. There you go. You can see him kind of looking through. He actually reminds me a lot, that individual, of one of the males from a coalition that was known as the Hilda's Rock males. It looks a little bit similar to the one that got kind of mangled a bit by a older lion. So interesting to see kind of how they move around, and that some lions have similar traits to others. Dale, you're asking about undercoats, and will lions get? I'm not sure if they get an undercoat, but their fur does thicken up a little bit, so they get slightly longer fur in the winter months. That just helps to keep them insulated. Remember, out here, it very seldom actually gets too cold for anything. I mean, it's very seldom we don't have any snow or anything like that, and so these lions, even though it will be cool during the night, during the day it will reach 20, 25 degrees Celsius, which is pretty warm in some countries, and so, you know, these guys don't really need that undercoat in order to insulate them. They'll get a situation where their coat will just thicken up a little bit, but not much, and they'll be a bit warmer then from that. But it really isn't that necessary for them to get massive amounts of insulation, given that it doesn't really get that cold here for them. I mean, it's cold nights in the winter, but it's never freezing cold where it's snowing and frost and those kind of things, and these guys then have that issue to worry about. So it's more a case of, you know, a situation where they just need a little bit of extra insulation, and they get that via a little thickening of the fur. So that's all it is. Now, our other males are all kind of lying about all over the place at the moment. It's just they've all split up. It's interesting to kind of see this, because often you get a situation where you'll get, you know, male lions will kind of hang around together when they're young, and they lie very close together, and there's quite tight bonds. But in this case, we've got one down there, one here, and one over here. So it's pretty interesting just to see the difference between kind of how they're lying. And this guy seems to be a lot more comfortable with our presence than the two smaller individuals. Now, they seem apparently to be all from the same litter, so it's an interesting situation, and I wonder how it's going to kind of play out. So, Nathan, rain can affect how many animals you see when you're out. It's generally a little tougher to find some of the animals, particularly when it's really raining quite hard. Then you'll find things like leopards and some of the other animals try and seek shelter, so they get in underneath some trees and bushes, and they try and curl up and stay nice and warm underneath there, and they don't then show themselves nearly as much. So it can make it a little quieter, but there's also, you get sometimes really insane sightings in the rain where you'll get some of the animals that you might not normally see. So things like aardvark, pangolin, they come out when it's drizzling like this sometimes, and they'll stay out longer in the mornings than they normally would because it's a little darker in the morning. So it depends. I mean, I've had some incredible drives in the rain, and I've also had some horrible ones where you see very, very little, and it becomes quite tough. It's also much harder to track in the rain, and so that makes it also harder. Brian, you're asking what animals hunt best in the rain. There's no real answer to that. That's almost like how long is a ball of string. Every individual is different, and every animal has, you know, different techniques and different success rates. And so, you know, any of the cats would theoretically be fairly decent in the rain, as would wild dogs. So it's really difficult to say what has the best hunting tactic. Oh, I mean, maybe if we think about it, if you get rain and you'll have a situation where lots of frogs are around, the herons might be the best. But in terms of these kind of big cats or big predators that we think about, they're all very equally capable of finding food in the rain and being able to hunt whatever they need to. So it's not really a case that it's about the rain kind of influencing whether cheetah, lion or leopard have a better success rate. It's pretty similar. It doesn't matter if it's rain or shine. Anyway, let's see if these males are going to move again. I surmise that they're going to just end up resting where they are right now, and there's no sun to drive them anyway, but we'll sit tight and just see what they get up to. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Miss McCurdy and see how her Ellies are doing.